All right, so welcome to our deep dive, into mastering time and money.
Yeah.
We're dissecting this article we found called 15 Rules to Master Time and Money.
Okay.
And let me tell you, it's not your typical, budget and schedule kind of system.
Right.
It's really about building a life that has both freedom to do what you want and the resources to make it happen.
Yeah. It really starts with this concept of the feedback loop of wealth.
Hmm.
And it's this idea of using your time to create money and then reinvesting that money to create more time.
Oh, I like that.
That's like that snowball rolling downhill. It just gains momentum as it goes.
Oh, yeah, those compound interest charts.
Exactly.
Like, even those small little things can just make such a huge difference.
Huge difference. Yeah.
So let's dive into these 15 rules.
Okay.
The first few are about building that solid foundation.
Yeah. And that first rule might surprise you.
Okay.
It's recognizing how clinging to the present moment can sabotage your long-term goals.
Really? How does being present hold us back?
Well, imagine you're facing a deadline at work.
Hmm.
It's tempting to just pull an all-nighter, just get it done.
Right.
But what if instead you set some boundaries and get a good night's sleep,
Hmm.
even if it means finishing the project a little later?
So you're saying prioritizing long-term gain over that short-term comfort,
Exactly.
even when it's counterintuitive.
Yeah, the article called it anchoring to the present.
Interesting.
It's that our immediate desires often are in conflict with our long-term goals.
Hmm.
It doesn't mean you deny yourself every little pleasure, but it's about, making choices that support your future self.
Yeah, that makes sense. But how do we actually put this into practice?
Right.
I mean, you face those temptations every day.
Yeah, so that's where the lag effect comes in.
Okay.
It's the idea that the results of our actions, especially when it comes to building wealth, they often take time to show up.
Oh,
It's like
okay.
planting a seed, you don't see fruit right away.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
Yeah. So patience is key.
Patience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not about overnight success. It's about that consistent effort over time.
Consistency.
Think about investing.
Okay.
Say you put your money in a solid, low-cost index fund.
Uh-huh.
The market may fluctuate in the short time, but over the long haul, history shows that approach delivers those good returns.
Over time.
The problem is many people get impatient. They try to time the market,
Yeah.
and they end up losing money because they didn't, understand the lag effect.
Sort of trusting the process.
Trusting the process, even when you don't see immediate results,
Got it.
applies to everything from building healthy habits to, learning a new skill.
Yeah.
The key is focus on those small, consistent actions, knowing they're going to compound over time.
So we've laid the groundwork,
Yeah.
recognizing those present moment traps,
Uh-huh.
embracing the power of the lag effect.
Right.
But now comes the tricky part, actually making decisions about how we spend our time and money.
That's where the next few rules come in. And they provide a framework for making choices that are aligned with your values and goals. And starting with this idea of opportunity cost.
Opportunity cost. I've heard of that, but I gotta be honest.
Yeah.
It always just sounded kind of like, economist jargon.
Right.
How would you explain that to somebody who, isn't an economist?
Well, simply put, every time we choose to do one thing,
Yeah.
we're automatically choosing not to do something else.
Uh-huh.
And that something else is the opportunity cost.
Okay. So every yes is a no to something else.
Exactly.
But how do we know which yes is the right one?
So that's where things get interesting.
Okay.
Let's say you have a free evening.
Uh-huh.
You could spend it catching up on your favorite show.
Okay.
Or you could use that time to work on that side project you've been dreaming of starting.
Right.
Both are valid choices.
Right.
But the key is to make that choice consciously understanding what you're gaining and what you're giving up.
Be mindful of how we spend our time.
Yeah.
Even those free moments. Because they add up.
They do.
It can move us closer to our goals or further away.
Exactly. And this brings us to another important concept, the paradox of freedom.
The paradox of freedom.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I'm really curious now. How can having more freedom be a bad thing?
Oh, think about it. We live in a world of almost limitless choices.
Yeah, we do.
What to eat, what to watch, what to buy,
Yeah.
what career paths to pursue.
Yeah,
It's overwhelming.
it is.
And that constant decision-making can lead to decision fatigue.
Oh, yeah.
You're just paralyzed,
It's
unable to make any choice at all, or you make choices that aren't truly aligned with what you want.
Oh, totally. By the end of the day, sometimes I'm so decision fatigued.
Yes.
I just end up scrolling, on social media, which is probably not the best use of my time.
That's a perfect example of how too much freedom can actually lead to less freedom.
Okay, so how do we escape this paradox?
One key is to set boundaries.
Yeah.
It might sound counterintuitive, but by limiting your options, we actually free up mental space and energy to focus on what really matters.
Okay.
It's about creating those structures and systems that support your goals and help you make decisions more easily.
Yeah, like instead of spending 2 hours browsing Netflix,
Exactly.
you decide in advance what you're going to watch.
Right.
And that frees up your evening.
Yes, and this principle applies to every area of our lives,
Yeah.
from our finances to our relationships.
Okay.
It's about creating those guidelines and routines that help us navigate this complexity of modern life.
And make good choices.
Make choices that are aligned with our values.
So not being a robot or anything, but just having some of those structures in place
Exactly.
that actually free us up.
Yes, and that brings us to another crucial rule. Focus on your personal wants, not societal pressures.
Ooh, this is a big one.
Mm-hmm.
It's so easy to get caught up in what you should be doing,
Right.
not what truly aligns with your own values and goals.
Yeah, it's about taking a step back and asking yourself, what do I want? What kind of life do I want to create? What brings me joy and fulfillment?
Yeah.
And then you make choices that are aligned with those answers.
Right.
Even if they go against the grain of what society expects of you.
That's a good one.
Yeah. And sometimes that means making choices that seem counterintuitive, like embracing the idea of a second job as a path to freedom.
Wait a second, job? I thought we were trying to get more free time.
Yeah, think of it this way. A side hustle chosen strategically can actually create more security and freedom.
Okay.
It's about diversifying your income streams, so you're not reliant on a single source.
Uh-huh.
This can give you the financial cushion to pursue your passions, to take risks, or even just have more peace of mind.
But not grinding ourselves down with 2 jobs, but strategically using a side hustle.
Exactly.
Give us more options.
And when you approach it from that mindset, a side hustle can become a source of empowerment, not just another obligation.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We talked about resisting those present moment traps, embracing the lag effect, making conscious choices about opportunity costs,
Right.
setting boundaries to escape the paradox of freedom,
Yeah.
focusing on our own desires,
Yes.
and even considering a side hustle as a path to freedom.
That's a great summary.
But now I'm thinking, how do we fit all of this into our already busy lives?
Right.
It's great in theory, but how do we make it happen?
That's where the next set of rules comes in.
Okay.
And they're all about optimizing our time and energy.
Ooh, I like it, optimizing our time and energy.
And a key part of that, is understanding our own rhythms.
Uh-huh.
Like those peak productivity hours, when we're most focused and energized.
Oh, absolutely. I'm a morning person, for sure.
Huh.
Like, give me that cup of coffee, that
Yeah.
quiet house before everybody's up.
Yeah.
And I can just, power through my to-do list.
That's great. I'm more of a late afternoon person.
Really?
Yeah, I find that my creative juices are really flowing. Yeah, everyone's different. And the key is to identify those times when you are most alert and schedule your most important tasks for those windows.
So it's about working with our natural energy cycles, not against them.
Exactly.
Instead of forcing myself to work on a creative project at, 10 o'clock at night when I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
Just save it for a time when I know I'll be more in the flow.
Exactly. Work smarter, not harder.
I like that.
And to really maximize our time, the article emphasizes leveraging tools and systems.
Oh, tools and systems. I love a good productivity hack.
Right.
What kind of tools are we talking about?
Well, think about those areas where you tend to lose time, or you get bogged down.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, if you struggle with managing your finances,
Yeah.
there are apps out there that can automate your savings,
Oh, yeah.
track your spending.
No.
Or if you're constantly feeling overwhelmed by your to-do list, try a time blocking app that helps you schedule your day, and prioritize tasks.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about time blocking.
Yeah, it's like having a personal assistant for your day.
Right.
And the beauty of these tools is that they free up your mental space.
Hmm.
So instead of trying to remember everything, you can offload those tasks to a system.
Yeah.
And this allows you to focus on those things that really require your unique skills and talents.
It's like working on your business, not in your business.
Exactly.
You're creating systems that work for you so you can work on the things that matter.
Right. And that brings us to another crucial element of optimization, enjoying what you do.
Enjoying what you do. I mean, that almost sounds counterintuitive, but when we actually enjoy the work,
Yes.
it doesn't feel so much like work.
It doesn't. And that enjoyment fuels our motivation, our creativity, our productivity. And, you remember how we talked about side hustles as a path to freedom?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. choosing something that aligns with your interests and passions can make all the difference.
Totally.
It's not just about the extra income. It's about finding fulfillment in the work itself.
So finding that sweet spot where passion, purpose, and productivity all kind of come together.
Exactly.
Okay, so that brings us to the next part of the article. The rules for investing and building a long-term vision.
Yes, and this is where that lag effect we talked about earlier really comes into play.
Okay.
When it comes to investing, patience and a long-term perspective are key.
This is what I want to learn about. Investing can be so intimidating.
Yeah.
Where do we even begin?
Well, the article really stresses one simple rule: avoid guesswork. Don't try to time the market or chase the latest hot stock.
Right.
Instead, focus on a solid long-term strategy, like investing in a low-cost index fund.
So slow and steady wins the race.
Absolutely. It's about valuing those long-term gains over short-term gratification.
Can you give me an example of how that looks in real life?
Sure, imagine you have $500 to spare.
Okay.
You could spend it on a weekend getaway,
Fun.
which would be fun in the moment,
Yeah.
but the money's gone. Or you could invest that $500. In the short term, you might not see a huge difference, but over time, with compound interest, that $500 could grow into something much larger.
Oh, wow.
It's about delaying gratification now to reap greater rewards later.
So instead of buying a bouquet of flowers, you plant a tree.
Exactly.
Flowers are beautiful now, but the tree is going to provide you with shade and beauty for years to come.
Right, and this principle applies to every area of our lives.
Okay.
Do you spend your evening scrolling through social media, or do you use that time to learn a new skill that could benefit you in the future? Do you buy that expensive latte every day, or do you save that money and invest it in your future?
It's all about those small, consistent choices.
It is.
That add up over time.
And that brings us to another crucial rule for both time and money: setting boundaries.
Setting boundaries, we talked about boundaries before.
Yeah.
With the paradox of freedom. How does that apply to investing and our long-term vision?
It's about creating those guardrails that protect our resources and prevent us from making impulsive decisions that could derail our progress. Maybe that means setting a strict budget for discretionary spending. So you don't overspend on things you don't really need. Or it could mean committing to a certain amount of time each week for working on your side hustle.
Right.
Even when you don't feel like it.
So it's about having that discipline to stick to our plan even when we don't want to.
And that's where the final rule comes in: tracking our progress and adapting as needed.
This is crucial. How do we effectively track our progress with both our time and money?
Well, when it comes to money, it's about regularly reviewing our spending, our investments. Are we on track to reach our savings goals? Are our investments performing as expected?
Okay.
And if not, what adjustments can we make?
Right.
It's not about obsessing over every penny,
Right.
but just having that awareness of where our money is going.
Yeah, make sure it's aligned with our goals.
Exactly. And what about tracking our time?
Yeah, how do we do that?
It's about being mindful of how we spend our days. Are we using our time in ways that are productive, fulfilling, aligned with our values?
Yeah.
Or are we letting time slip away on things that don't really matter?
It's so easy to get to the end of the day and think, where did the time go?
It is, and that's why it's important to have some system for tracking our time, whether it's a simple time log or a more sophisticated, time tracking app.
Okay.
Right?
I can see how that would be helpful.
Yeah, by tracking your time, you become more aware of your habits. You can identify those areas where you might be wasting time or could be more efficient.
So then we can make adjustments.
Exactly. Maybe you realize you're spending way too much time on social media.
Yeah.
Or maybe you discover that you're most productive in the mornings.
Right.
And you shift your schedule accordingly.
So being flexible.
Yeah, adapting as we learn more about ourselves and our habits.
We're not striving for perfection, just continuous improvement.
Right. This journey of mastering time and money is not about reaching some final destination. It's about the ongoing process of learning, growing, evolving.
This article gave us some fantastic tools and strategies.
It's a great starting point, for sure.
Yeah.
But the real magic happens when we take these ideas and personalize them.
Yeah.
Make them our own.
Okay, so what does that look like? How do we take these 15 rules and make them work for our own lives?
That's a great question, and that's exactly what we'll be exploring in the final part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We'll be discussing how to personalize these principles and put them into action.
Yeah.
To create a life of freedom and abundance.
Okay, so we've explored all these 15 rules, but as you said, the real magic is in making them our own.
Yeah.
It's kind of like having a recipe, but you still get to choose, your favorite spices.
Uh-huh.
Adjust the portions to fit your taste.
That's a great analogy.
So there's no need to feel overwhelmed. Like we have to implement all 15 rules perfectly.
Not at all. It's about progress, not perfection.
Okay.
So start by choosing 1 or 2 rules that really speak to you and focus on integrating those into your life.
Yeah.
And then as you get comfortable with those, you can gradually add more.
Yep.
Or experiment with different approaches. Remember, this is a journey.
A journey.
Not a destination.
Right. It's like building a muscle. You don't start by lifting the heaviest weights, right?
Exactly.
You gradually increase as you get stronger.
Right.
And speaking of strength, what are some of the mental muscles we need to develop to really master this?
Oh, that's a good question.
Time and money.
I think one of the most important is discipline.
Discipline.
It's about having the willpower to stick to our plans,
Okay.
even when we're faced with temptations or setbacks. It's about delaying gratification, making those tough choices that align with our long-term vision, even when they're not the most fun or exciting options in the moment.
Yeah. I mean, discipline can be tough, especially today. We're just constantly bombarded with distractions.
Yes. It's definitely a skill that takes practice, but it's worth cultivating.
Yeah, for sure.
Another important one is resilience.
Okay.
Because let's face it, there will be times when things don't go according to plan. We'll hit roadblocks. We'll make mistakes. We might even experience setbacks.
Right.
But resilience is about bouncing back from those challenges, learning from our mistakes, and continuing to move forward.
So having that growth mindset.
Yes, seeing challenges as opportunities for learning and development rather than giving up at the first sign of difficulty.
I like that.
And another key mental muscle is self-awareness.
Self-awareness.
Yeah, it's about understanding our own patterns.
Okay.
Our strengths, our weaknesses, our triggers.
Uh-huh.
What are the things that tend to derail us?
Right.
What are the strategies that help us stay on track?
Right, because if we're not aware of our own patterns, then we're just going to make the same mistakes.
Exactly.
Over again.
And self-awareness also helps us identify our values,
Right.
our priorities, so we can make choices that are truly aligned with what matters most to us.
So having that clarity of purpose.
Yeah. Knowing what we're working towards so we can stay motivated and focused on the long game.
And as we develop those, those mental muscles, that discipline, resilience, self-awareness, it gives us a sense of empowerment.
It does. You realize that you're not at the mercy of your circumstances, your habits, or your impulses. You have the power to choose to create, to shape your own life.
That's a great point. It's not about being perfect.
No.
Or having all the answers. It's just about embracing the journey.
Yeah.
And knowing that we can learn and grow.
Absolutely. And remember, this journey is not a solo mission.
Oh, that's a good point.
We don't have to go it alone.
Surround yourself with supportive people.
Yes.
People who believe in you and your goals.
Family, friends, mentors, online communities.
Yeah. Having that network.
It can make all the difference.
It's a huge difference.
Absolutely. And don't be afraid to seek out guidance from experts. Whether it's a financial advisor, a therapist, a career coach, or anyone else who can help you navigate the challenges and opportunities along the way.
It's like having a team of Sherpas.
Yes.
Guiding you up the mountain.
Exactly. They can't carry you to the top, but they can share their knowledge, their experience, their encouragement to help you reach your summit.
I like that. And as we continue on this journey, mastering time and money, remember to celebrate the wins, no matter how small.
Acknowledge your progress, reward your efforts, give yourself credit for all the hard work you're doing.
It's like those milestones along a trail.
Yes.
You get that sense of accomplishment, encourages you to keep going, you're making progress.
And as you look back on the path you've traveled, you might be surprised at how far you've come.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the heart of what this deep dive has been all about.
Okay.
It's not just about the practical aspects of managing time and money. It's about creating a life that feels rich and meaningful and aligned with your deepest values.
It's not about deprivation or restriction.
No.
It's about empowerment and freedom.
Yes.
Having those resources and flexibility to pursue your passions, to spend time with loved ones, to make a difference.
Beautifully said. It's about designing a life that you love, a life that feels both fulfilling and financially secure.
And that's a goal worth striving for.
It is.
We covered so much in this deep dive.
Yeah.
From the foundation to the mental muscles to the personalization and support systems. I'm feeling energized and inspired.
Me too.
To put these insights into action.
And remember, even though our deep dive is coming to a close, your journey is just beginning.
So true. This is just the starting point.
Yeah, that the real magic happens as you take these ideas and make them your own.
Okay.
Experiment, adapt, and most importantly, enjoy the process.
We will, and thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
Thank you.
We hope you found it valuable and inspiring. Until next time, keep exploring, keep growing, and keep building that life of freedom and abundance.